Peace to the planet. I go by the name of Charlamagne Tha God, or you can call me Lenard. Okay, back for another week of the God's Honest Truth. Brothers, how y'all feel? Sisters, y'all all right? Okay. Another week, we're gonna laugh, we're gonna learn, we're gonna be uncomfortable. This show is starting a lot of conversations, okay? A lot of folks are glad that we are holding a mirror up to the country and forcing America to take a good look at itself, okay? That's right. It's very hard to look into a mirror and admit what's wrong with you. I mean, ask anybody who's gotten a BBL, okay? But I've also been called a race-baiting agitator, all right? Some even compared me to Alex Jones, okay? Come on, man. Alex Jones, with or without TV makeup, I look better than him, okay? All right? But you know what's sad about that? I haven't peddled in one conspiracy yet. The things I've discussed on this show have actually happened, okay? Sadly, this is America's reality. And these reactions are what's wrong with this country. America does not know how to deal with a problem. Case in point, last week, we talked about crackers on horseback, literally herding Haitian migrants like cattle at the border. And immediately afterwards, the current protectors of white supremacy in the White House, the Biden administration, they took action.
The secretary also conveyed to civil rights leaders earlier this morning that we would no longer be using horses in Del Rio.
The horses. Thanks to President Biden and the rest of the cowardly donkeys known as Democrats, no longer will those bigoted ass, racist ass, cracker ass horses continue to terrorize black and brown people at the border, okay? We will never have a systemic change in this country unless we address the problems head on. Instead, that's right. Instead, America likes to act like it's not a problem and make symbolic gestures like getting rid of the horses, okay? Haitians get assaulted at the border, get rid of the horses. You know where I'm going with this. Black people get killed by the police, get rid of the horses. I'm gonna need a little help. A handsome black man gets a TV show, calls out white supremacy and its institutions. Get rid of the horses. Wrong! They want to get rid of the nigger. And if he got a horse, get rid of that son of a bitch too. That's why for the past year, conservative white folks have been losing their mayonnaise-flavored minds over critical race theory. And that's what I want to talk about tonight. If you're not familiar with critical race theory, it's using the basic concept that racial bias is baked into our U.S. laws and institutions. And somehow, not all these crackers agree.
Critical race theory is basically teaching people to hate our country.
You're judging and dividing. You're causing segregation.
He identifies George Washington as a white man and then asks if he would be killed back then because he has brown skin. I mean, he's judging George Washington not by any of what about being the founder of our country.
So when do we tell the kid that, in fact, he may have been killed back then because of the color of his skin?
Listen, I'm gonna tell you something. These crackers understand the assignment, okay? Did I use that right? Yeah. All right, I'm just the old brother trying to use new slang, but listen, okay? They don't want anyone reminding them of A, what's really going on in this country, and B, what's the true history of this country. It's not a coincidence that conservative politicians and media outlets are trying to swat down CRT and the 1619 Project like they're Giannis, whose last name I can't pronounce, okay? It's actually pretty simple. You see, racist white folks will do whatever it takes to keep black people in their place. Yes. They want us all dumb, deaf, and blind. See no facts, hear no facts, speak no facts, which is why they don't want to teach us real American history in the form of critical race theory. And they want to continue to teach their own version of CRT in schools, critical racist theory, okay? Defined by the God's Honest Dictionary as a political movement to uphold America's racist bullshit by pretending that it never happened, okay? Basically, they act like men when they get caught cheating. Even though you know he did it, deny. Not black men, though, because we don't cheat, all right? Listen, See, I'm not debating y'all about this. That is not up for debate. See, crackers rely on black ignorance as their own source of strength. It's one of their infinity stones, okay? This is why we shouldn't buy into the hype that they're afraid critical race theory will cause white children to feel bad about themselves. But even if it did, feeling bad about yourself is just part of going to school, okay? That rope in gym class is where dreams go to die, all right? School sucks for everybody. I used to get called Bunky Nose in 7th grade, okay? And it still stings. It's still a source of trauma, all right? So those white kids learning the real history of their ancestors, they'll be all right. Knowledge is a superpower that our greatest leaders all had. Picture this. August 21st, 1831, an enslaved Virginian preacher by the name of Nat Turner leads a bloody revolt in Southampton County. Oh, Nat Turner was Django if Django was based on a true story, okay? He killed an estimated 55 racist crackers and their enablers. Turner changed the... Y'all can clap if y'all want to. Turner changed the course of American history with the force and speed of a man realizing that he left his unlocked phone in a room alone with his girl. Not a black man, though, because we don't cheat. That's right. While crackers were using certain biblical verses as a perverted justification for slavery, Nat Turner, one of very few literate enslaved people, used biblical texts to encourage other enslaved brothers and sisters to fight for their freedom. Now, unfortunately, they didn't see freedom on this side, but from that point on, crackers knew the danger of an educated black person. After Nat Turner's uprising, laws were passed throughout the South outlawing teaching slaves how to read with big-ass fines and even jail time. It wasn't until around 1877, after the Civil War and Reconstruction eras, that black people were finally given access, and I use access loosely, to education, financial resources, and opportunities to thrive. And thrive we did. But crackers were so afraid of black people dominating on a level playing field, they began implementing more barriers to offset black progress, such as Jim Crow laws, sovereign black codes, and of course, reality TV. I got a question for y'all. Have you ever seen a comb just glide through the sheer net that is a fresh lace front? That's how easy it was for crackers to pass anti-education laws. Even after the Brown versus Board of Education ruling in 1954. In fact, behind me is the SCOTUS receipts for cases where crackers tried to turn back the clock after the Civil Rights Act of 1965. Why are these crackers so shook about the possibility of black children gaining knowledge of self? Because it's all well and good when Simba doesn't know who he is and he's running around indulging in a bug-based diet with Timon and Pumbaa. But when Rafiki knocks Simba upside his head and reminds him he's a freaking lion, destined to be the king, the healing of Pride Rock began.